Hi, I'm David Bell. Welcome to this episode of Through the Year with John Wesley. Today it's all about how Wesley tapped into an astonishing gospel insight and how we can earth it directly into our own lives in ministry contexts. It begins with Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. Wesley preached a remarkable series of 13 sermons examining the Sermon on the Mount in detail. It's around these well-known Bible verses from Matthew's Gospel that a new truth breaks forth. Hear what the Gospel says first. You are the light of the world. A city on the top of a hill can't be hidden, neither do people light a lamp and put it under a basket. Instead, they put it on top of a lampstand, and it shines on all who are in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before people, so they can see the good things you do and praise your Father who is in heaven. Now those are words of power. On receptive ears, they resonate. They call up from the depths a creative vision of how life is to be lived. These verses worked their alchemy in Wesley's imagination. His heart and mind responded with a new and equally profound truth. He says, when you are the light of the world, you can't retreat into a private faith. Wesley puts it in plain language, quote, Christianity is essentially a social religion, and that to turn it into a solitary religion is indeed to destroy it, unquote. Wesley believed with his all in the Sermon on the Mount. It wasn't an abstract theory. It was how Jesus applied faith into daily life. And how Wesley represents that social Christianity through his sermon series is also appealing. When we read Wesley's journals, we soon discover that he really enjoyed preaching these sermons, not just on the odd occasion, but throughout his life. Now, here's an odd fact. You may not be aware that Wesley initially found it very hard to do open-air preaching. He actually called it a vile activity. Listen to this from his journal, 1739, Monday 2nd of April. Quote, at 4 in the afternoon I submitted to be more vile and proclaimed in the highways glad tidings of salvation. Unquote. But within a few weeks he had the measure of it. Quote, I began expounding a second time our Lord's Sermon on the Mount, unquote. The very next day he estimates about 3,000 people were listening. But it was a scene of great cruelty. A press gang came into the crowd and seized one of them. What an evil, enacted in the midst of faith. Life's like that. That is our world in which the gospel must make its way. What can we do today to make the Sermon on the Mount more real to us in everyday life? I suggest we do what Wesley did. He got into its skin by reading, thinking, praying, talking, singing, and eventually writing about it through the 13 sermons. Now, that's exactly what retired music educator Stuart Mannins did, unwittingly following in the steps of Wesley. Let me explain. A few years ago, he retold the Sermon on the Mount for young people. With text carefully edited and polished, we published it into a workbook called Lead Worship. Lead Worship was designed to help small congregations with Sunday morning services. Recently, Stuart decided to turn the prose into a series of 9 songs. He gave them diverse musical settings. It's a small-scale libretto that we've called gospel. You can read more about this in the About section of the YouTube video. And you're welcome to download and use gospel in your church or for study or personal use. It's Creative Commons, so please share according to the license. Now here's the takeaway from our consideration of Wesley's 13 sermon series. The process Stuart and I followed over a number of years in getting gospel to a publishable form changed us. We had moved from a private form of faith to a more public expression of it. We were letting the gospel be social. Without realizing it, we had followed Wesley's method, minus the open-air preaching. Maybe publishing to YouTube does that in a contemporary way. In sum, we commend the process of retelling the Sermon on the Mount in your own way. It will have a noticeable effect on you of creating a better way of daily living. Join me next week as we look at the spread of Methodism. And thanks for watching.